Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
All hail the sharks.
Big-assed sharks.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched Meg 2, The Trench.
The Trench!
Yeah, only one the for them, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Not the Meg to the trench. A Meg, the Trench? No, these
Three
are all
Megs.
bad ideas.
3 Megs.
They are 3 Megs.
Yeah. Really, they jumped the gun. They went from 2 right to 3. Well, they skipped over 2, rather.
I guess that's why it's not the Meg.
Mm-hmm. It wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
Because we'd be like, which Meg? We'd be going into the movie being like, which Meg?
It's airtight.
Mm-hmm.
Jonas, we need your help. We're detecting increased aquatic activity 25,000 feet deep in the trench. It's an ancient ecosystem untouched by man. Whatever is down there is trying to make its way to the surface. This is a bad idea. Just a little bit.
Oh my goodness, Tom. we have so, oh god, there's so many fucking movies. I'm probably gonna try to catch Talk to Me just for my own sake. There's like so many movies that I haven't even gotten to like watch the movies I really want to watch.
Right, like
the
Turtles and Talk
movie,
to Me.
yeah.
I haven't been able to see Barbie yet. There's too much
you gotta
shit.
see Barbie.
Yeah.
There's too much shit. This seemed like something for us to cover, though, right? I mean, I think we'll cover the Turtles down the line.
I think we probably will, yeah.
Yeah, Meg 2, The Trench, starring Jason Statham.
And Dave,
we love him.
Before we get started, I just want to say that Jason Statham had script and story input on this film.
Oh, yeah,
And
really?
boy, oh boy.
Yeah. I could have told you that.
Instantly apparent.
It really is. Jesus fucking Christ. How did you like this movie?
Dave, I loved this movie.
Oh, okay. I thought it was fine. I
genuinely did.
It's fun. I have a bone to pick with the Meg, but we'll get into that because I didn't hate this movie by any measure. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised with what it was because it's not what you might be expecting. It's like 8 different kinds of action thrillers crammed into one film. That's basically just like this group of you have a group of heroes that you're introduced to pretty quickly, and then they go down in a sub for like, oh, let's go do some routine research, and that one dive becomes this epic fucking adventure. To the bottom of the earth and back up to the surface, fighting prehistoric monsters. So just real quick, before we get into it, I think this one definitely is not boring, which was the problem with the first one, and I think
for sure
this one understood that you can't remake Jaws. Like that's like a trap that almost every shark movie falls into. Is they either try to be Sharknado or they all try to be Jaws, which is what the first one did. And the problem is you can't do that because that movie exists and it was done perfectly, but also the cat's kind of out of the bag. We know all those tricks. So you can't make that kind of movie, that kind of shark movie. So you have to go over the top with it, right? Like the second best shark movie after Jaws is Deep Blue Sea, right?
Right, so you got to get dumb with it. Yeah, I agree. I rewatched the first Meg recently. That movie, after the fact, is a little easier to watch. Like, I enjoyed it a little more.
It's more fun at home.
Yeah, they were doing some fun character work in it, and like, it's nothing. It's not amazing.
Yeah,
but
I can't remember
sorry. Well, the problem is expectations. So, like the
Right.
first Meg, I think what happened was you watch that movie and you're like, okay, one, I really do think, and this applies to this one too, R rating. I don't see why not at this point. I know why they're not doing it because they want to attract a broad audience. But, and then also like giant sharks, it's actually kind of hard when a giant shark eats people. It's not that interesting. It's not as interesting as like, you think, because then you realize like, oh, it can't like bite into people.
I think
it's not as gruesome.
Yeah, but I think that this one realizes that, so they find ways to make it
It's definitely better
funny
than the
or
first,
exciting
yeah.
or like a genuine like, oh, every time somebody gets eaten. Like they really they understood that in this movie, so they find some, like they do it in the trailer. They show this in the trailer, but the shot that's inside the shark's mouth as it's just swallowing just scores
that
of
is
people.
really good.
That's awesome. And they do shit like that throughout the movie.
This is very well made. It's fun.
Directed by
my
Ben
gripe with it.
Wheatley.
Yeah, oh yeah. And it's well directed. My issue is, and I don't know if it's the producers. I think it might be the producers because they definitely have multiple masters. Like, you know, there's obviously this co-production with
this
China,
is made.
I believe.
This is made for Chinese audiences as much as American audiences, and that it's like
nothing-
doing super well internationally.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
No,
but
not at all.
My main gripe is it feels like it's suffering from a profound lack of imagination. And what I mean by that
Really?
is that, because like, all right, the Meg 1, they go out on this floating ship, right? They go down to the trench. They accidentally release the Meg. Third act, resort beach. Eats everybody. That's pretty much the exact same thing that happens in this. Obviously, it's more awesome in this.
That's true.
But that's the thing that weirds me out is like, how hard is it to think of cool things to do with a Meg? Like, do it on a cruise ship. Have it attack a cruise ship. Have it go to New York. Have it go to a different... Like, it's wild to me that they just did the exact same thing. It felt like a redo. It felt like they were like, okay, let's do it again, but more awesome.
Yeah.
And again... They did it again, but more awesome. I did enjoy this movie. It's just weird to me that it feels like they're not doing enough with a giant shark. That's my feeling. Is like, why is it only those beats both movies? And it's like weird to me that it feels like they're like not using every part of the Meg to me. That's what it feels like to me at this point.
I think some of it could be leaving a place to go, but like, man, I really feel like I totally recognize that the beats of the movies are exactly the same, more or less, but they fill in like all the mortar, like all like the details of this movie. I feel like they're really flexing some imagination, like all of the characters and the subplots. There's like a terrorist villain and there's like a Die Hard sequence on this island with like bad guys with machine guns, and then also these lizards from the deep.
Right,
a shark fights an octopus.
Right. You know how mostly none of that didn't involve the shark, though. That's the thing that weirds me out. Like, when he's down in the sub fighting that guy, like it's a scene from The Rock, I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Doesn't have anything to do with the shark, though.
No.
Like, that's the thing, is I feel like both of these movies, I was like, give me the Meg. Give me a big-ass shark. And it's just weird that it feels like they don't seem to know what to do with the shark itself. That's the impression I get, where it's like, it's weird that they're all fighting each other and there's all these dinosaurs and stuff, where I'm like, I don't know, give me more shark stuff. I think you're right that it's the Jaws problem, but like, for example, again, a cruise ship versus a Meg, that feels like it could be interesting, right? Have the Meg go to different locations that are more interesting. Do a Jaws 3, have it go to a fucking SeaWorld.
Sure,
or have it go to a city, a different location. It's just weird that they don't seem to have enough ideas of what to do with the Meg itself, that there's all these like elaborate action sequences, which I'm sure Jason Statham has something to do with, where he's like fighting guys on a ship. And there's like, and it's like, what about the fucking shark? Give me more of the shark. Well, it's still a very fun movie. It just doesn't feel like a shark movie, I guess is what it comes down to.
No, it doesn't. It's more like Jurassic Park.
Yeah, or the Kong ones.
And like the Skull Island. I got a serious Jurassic Park vibe. One of the producers was Gerald R. Mullen, I noticed. Just a fun coincidence. But I think part of that is the other part of what I was wanting to say is that I think there's not as much you can do with a giant shark as you might think. Like,
well, that's
because really, like,
saying.
all you're describing is just putting the shark in a different location, and it's like I agree. Like, I don't see a whole movie of it versus a cruise ship. I see that being a beat in one of the movies because I expect that fight would actually go pretty quickly. Because it's the size of a cruise ship. Out of it. Yeah. That thing's going to sink pretty quick. So I think
I think there'd be I don't know. I could see a cool idea where it's like it bites the cruise ship and it starts sinking. It's like Titanic style.
That's true. That
and
would
it's
be
like
cool.
the big, and it's like one of those mega
one story
cruise ships.
element. Yeah, like that's one plot line that they're following is this sinking cruise ship, and then another problem that the shark has caused, maybe. But like they do like they have like a Meg friend in this one. There's like a friendly Meg. You know, I don't know. I think they did fun stuff with the shark in this one. I don't know how much, because I feel like the beats would be pretty much the same if it was in New York City. It would still be it eating people in kind of the same ways.
They're doing a kaiju movie, essentially.
Basically, yeah.
And that's okay. Again, it's fine. It's very fun. I just think that like it feels like they never gave the premise of a giant shark enough of a chance, I guess. Because there's all this other shit. It's like, look at these bases, our cool tech, these terrorists, the other monsters. And I feel like the first movie is just that one Meg. Mm-hmm. But of course that movie had its issues. Yeah, and it's just like I don't know.
Two in that first one. Remember, they kill one and then another one shows up.
Oh yeah. You're right. There's just I don't know. There's this feeling of like it's just the overall vibe I get is like it doesn't feel like they know what to do with the shark, and maybe there isn't that much to do with the shark, but I'm like, I don't know, man. You're making a whole movie about it. I guess I'm hoping to be surprised with shark stuff, or to see some set piece that I hadn't seen before, or like a cool tense sequence where it's like, you know, a bunch of people in the water and the shark's under them and they're trying not to move, and it's just this giant fucking beast swimming under them. And they do a little of that with like the boats and stuff. I like that idea with the boat.
I thought there were several tense sequences. You know, not like
tense like, isn't the right word, but yeah,
well, you know
I
do
like when they're going to the
like thrilling,
the
I
underwater.
Guess. You know, like a lot of near escapes, and you know, there's a big enough cast that people do regularly die in pretty bad ways. So
yeah, I think what it is, again, this movie is very fun, and we should absolutely talk about why. I think what it is, for years now, I've thought of the idea of like, there's got to be a definitive giant shark movie. Like a movie about a giant shark, and you use every part of that concept, and you point out how fucking freaky it is, and it doesn't feel like The Meg is it. Like, that's what it comes down to. The Meg doesn't feel like it really did what a giant shark movie should have done, because it has all this other stuff. Does that make sense? Like, it has so much other stuff. Jason Statham, for example, is kind of bigger than the movie. Yeah. He has multiple action sequences in this where he just fights guys. And that's what it is. It's like
everybody has. There's almost 2 leads in this movie.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. It's like one of those movies where I feel like the concept is big enough on its own, but they add, like, you know, it's like when The Rock is in a movie, right? And it becomes a rock film.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's that vibe where it's like, I don't know, I feel like there's a good giant shark movie here that's suffocating under the weight of all the other stuff that they have to do. That said, I agree with everything you're saying, which is the movie is a blast. It reminded me of Jurassic Park, but obviously not the Spielberg side of it. More like it reminds me more of like Jurassic Park 3, I guess. It's more of like the campy side of Jurassic Park.
Yeah, but like
but in a good way.
The kind of basics are there. Like it starts where they think they have this all contained and controlled to the point where they have a Meg in a pen, and then they're also just kind of casually mining superconductor metal from the bottom of the sea.
Yeah, there's some hilariously evil people in this.
Yeah, and then they go to like a Jurassic Park island at the end, and then there's kind of raptors chasing them, and then there's also the big T-Rex, but there's also a fucking kraken.
I think they definitely took a page from that because they realized the raptor element is the thing I think that a lot of movies have learned, for better or for worse, from Jurassic Park, right? Like I always think of the 1998 Godzilla where they're like, we need raptors in this, right? Like we need a raptor, so let's give them baby Godzillas, which I don't think is a bad instinct. It's just very obvious that they saw Jurassic Park and they realized what we were saying about the Meg, which is like it's too big. In a lot of scenes, it's too big. Yeah. So they're like, okay, we need small, sneaky little fuckers.
Exactly.
And that's what they do.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, because the shark is so big, like the shark itself is kind of limiting the premise already from the bat.
Right.
Like, so it can only be in the water, and then it can only be in certain types of water because it's so freaking huge.
Oh yeah. No, it's the right instinct. My gripe is that it feels like we never got a Meg movie. You know what I mean? Like by the time it was time,
where it's like fighting the Navy, like it's like a Godzilla movie.
Where it's like, and you could do some really cool shit with it, and it feels like they've already like, okay, we got to add more, we got to make it bigger, and it's like, fuck, man, I don't feel like I even got a movie about the Meg because the movie they did do wasn't that great. And then this one, they're like, where do we bring this Meg? I don't know, paddle boats, and it's like, yeah, but you did. This is like pretty much what you did last time. So to the point that they have the dog again named Pippin. So like that's the stuff that's like, couldn't you have thought of a different ending at least? That's weird to me. That like the moment they cut to the island, everybody's playing and they're like, woo, and it's like, you did this. You just did this. It's weird. Other than that, it does feel like a very good do-over, you know? I want to, like, it begins with Jason Statham being, I love that he's an environmentalist who just beats people up. I also love that in this world, they're like Captain Planet villains, but worse. Like, they're going to kill him on that boat. And I think that's incredible. He goes on this big, he busts out of a shipping container. And this is how the movie was awesome, right? Like, this was the moment I knew the movie was awesome. Because they show him, like, in this room, and he's doing pull-ups. And then he busts through the wall, and he's in a shipping container on a boat. And I was just like, oh, okay. Yeah. So this is what this movie's going to be.
This is going to be awesome.
Right. Yeah. Again, I think this movie is better if you don't think of it as a giant shark movie. It's just a eco-action ocean movie.
Yeah.
Monster movie.
And also kind of like a James Bond movie almost.
Right. It's very funny. And he beats all these guys up on the boat.
He stabs the last Meg in the face with a helicopter rotor.
He does. That was
awesome. He just picks it up with his own strength.
Yeah. But I love this beginning because he fights these guys who also know how to fight.
Yeah, of course.
And that's very funny because it's just it's a ship dumping environmental waste.
Yeah, just barrels of
toxic waste.
Toxic waste.
And
just like Mr. Burns out at sea.
Why do these guys know kung fu? What's happening on this boat?
You gotta listen. When you're dumping illegal waste, you got to have a couple karate guys on board for safety.
Right, and then they're like, kill him, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, you guys! Like, just accept the fine.
It's the law of the sea, man. It's the law of the sea.
Just get a fine. Yeah. And then he bonds out of there. He gets scooped up in the plane, which is just it's such a funny beginning because when you think about it, it has nothing to do with the rest of the movie.
It sure doesn't.
Yeah,
it's just awesome.
How they choose to introduce him. Yeah, it was Jason Statham being like, "I want to kick a bunch of guys." Yeah, first thing
that was missing from the first Meg. He doesn't kick anything.
Yeah,
he kicks plenty in this movie.
He kicks plenty in this.
Yeah.
And so he's of course. Is he retired again? Is that no?
He's not at all.
He's very much because in the first one he's retired and they have to bring him back. Yeah, he's working for the Institute with the bad guys who are. Yeah. Again, it's really funny that they're like secretly mining materials. And the bad guy, like when she gives her speech, she's like, "We're going to plunder the ocean. We don't give a shit." Like she's so over the top evil where she's like, I don't like it's just very funny where it's like they're not exploring like they're not exploring like the realism of how people do this stuff. No, she's just mustache twirling like, fuck the ocean. I'm going to ruin the ocean.
Well,
and
I mean,
fuck the environment.
They're
and then
making,
I'll have all the money.
Like the superconductor metal, they say it's like he holds up one rock and he's like, this is like billions of dollars right here.
Yeah.
Like people do behave like this.
Oh yeah, but they don't just say it like this, I guess. She's like, it seems like she hates the ocean. Like it seems like she wants to hurt the ocean specifically.
I do. After seeing this movie, we should destroy it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've gone on the record. I've gone on the record talking about how the ocean is terrible.
We should drink it. We should drink the ocean.
Drink the ocean until it's all gone. So that's they're mining this stuff in secret as like a cover for this other exploration. Again, it's funny to me because it's almost like it's almost naive where I'm like, I don't think a corporation actually would have to do this much work to mine this stuff. I think they could just do it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
they'd probably get federal grants to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like Jason Statham is the front where it's like, oh yeah, we care about the sharks in the trench. And then, did they kill off like everybody from the first movie? Did I get that right? Except for the young girl?
Except for DJ, the guy with the backpack. And the girl, who I'm not sure if she's the same actress, but it's the same character anyway.
It's supposed to be the little girl,
Yeah.
And so she once again sneaks aboard. They did a good job with this because I knew that little girl was going to have to get in that sub, right? Mm-hmm. So the question is like, I didn't need them to do this, but I appreciate that she sneaks on. Jason says I'm pissed. He's like, we're aborting the mission. But then the shark comes and chases them into the trench. And that was a decent way to make it so that they had to force this little girl onto their mission to the bottom of the fucking trench.
Yeah, it's Jurassic Park, man.
Yeah. Yeah, they are really trying to go for Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Because it's like you need a little kid, right?
Yeah.
There's only so many ways to put a little kid on the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah.
And this is one.
Yeah, we also tried in a pillowcase, but that didn't test as well.
Yeah, and so I liked all this where this was the shit that was really fun where they crash because the mining people, again, so evil that they blow up their own people to cover up the fact that they're mining
blows up like
stuff.
Half the ocean.
Yeah, and again, I don't think
kills himself.
I don't think they needed to go through this much effort to cover this up. So yeah,
but I'm so delighted they did because it just gets more and more awesome.
He does almost kill himself. He busts his own
This guy is incredible, by the way. The villain, well, one of the villains is almost dies like 5 times in this movie.
Yeah. They did a good job with that, where they make the villain like his own badass.
Right, yeah. He's just like this cockroach. He refuses to die.
Yeah. And so they all crash and they have to walk. They have to do basically they have to walk a few miles on the bottom of the trench to get where they're going. And I thought this was pretty fun. Like, cool. I liked how they did the idea of like they're bottling oxygen at the same time.
Right, and then the one crew member's helmet gets cracked and starts to
that was
implode.
Cool, yeah. And this was good. It was like, it's hard to call it tension because it's like, I think they did a pretty good job. Because
maybe I don't know. I know what you're saying.
It's hard because it's like you know who will and won't survive.
You're pretty sure. You're pretty sure. At this point in the movie, you're kind of still unsure about the uncle, who turns out to be like essentially the co-lead with Jason. He does just as much badass action stuff as Jason Statham.
So I wasn't worried for him because of one thing they do, and like I know why they did it. Obviously,
at that point in the movie, I still kind of was. I thought he might I thought he might beef it.
I knew he couldn't beef it without this arc completing, which is at the beginning, the the captured Meg, he does a thing where he's like, I've trained her with this clicker. Mm-hmm. And then I knew they had
in Jurassic World.
Yeah, they had to pay that off. He couldn't die without them paying it off. So I knew he had plot armor at least until he did the clicker thing again. So that's why I was like, I don't feel that. Here's what they should have done. They should have had 3 kids, killed one of them, and then you constantly are like, man, they could kill another one of these kids. Like they should have murdered a couple kids.
Rule. Yeah, you kill a kid right away. Then the audience doesn't know which way is up.
Exactly. Three kids kill one. So then they know, like, if you kill another, you still got one to spare. So, like, you could kill another. You know what I mean? Because if you have two kids and you kill one, then it's like, well, they're not going to kill the second kid. They already killed the first kid. That's how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Aliens, they had two kids. They killed one, right?
Yeah.
And then they kill the other. But that's the later
in
movie.
3, but yeah.
Kill kids. If you want real suspense, you got to show me you're willing to kill a kid in a movie, is what I'm saying. So, like, you know, but I still think they did good because they give all the other characters who do die enough of a personality that you're, like, not sure who's going to die. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. They're all, you know, they're all kind of archetypes, but they do enough with quick, broad strokes with each one that, you know, it's. You don't necessarily want to see any of the main characters get beefed.
Yeah, the beauty of a slasher film is it's like misdirects, right? Like that first Meg movie, I forgot how clearly dead meat the guy is. He's like, I love my wife and kid. Hi, I'm the guy who loved my wife and kid. I'm writing a note to them, and I'm like, oh, you are dead.
Yeah.
You know,
you're going to implode at the bottom of the sea.
You sure are. So, like, you can't overdo it. You can't have a guy who's being like, I'm a huge character. Look at me.
Right,
I have
because
layers.
then it's like obvious.
It's like, oh, you're dead. Yeah.
Yeah. You do a quick thing to endear them to, like the one guy who just had his little, like, figurines all around the ship. That's it. That's all we know about him is he likes his little toys around the ship. So, like, when he gets killed, you're like, aw.
Yeah, exactly. We're talking metagame here, where it's like, you know, if you're a kid watching this movie, you don't know the metagame. So, like, that's why going back to like the suspense, it is conceptually really good. Mm-hmm. It's just that the metagame gets in the way, which isn't really the movie's fault.
But I think they handle that well towards the end of the movie when we have an action sequence with like Cliff Curtis and the uncle on the helicopter. Like we know we're pretty sure they're both fine at this point, but they make it into enough of a game that it's still like an entertaining sequence.
Right. Enough people die and enough people survive.
Right.
That you're like Cliff Curtis, I was just like, you're dead meat, right?
Well,
you
especially when the helicopter crashed. I was like, shit, I guess they just killed Cliff Curtis.
Yeah. And so, like...
But they did not.
They did not. They did not. So we have the bottom of the ocean stuff. And this is where I got a little antsy because I was like, okay, let's just get back to the surface. Especially when they're like, we introduced these buoys that send the stuff back up. And then they're like, oh no, how are we going to get back up? And it's like, I'm sure those buoys will have to do with it. At least somebody getting back up.
The bad guy ends up using it.
The bad guy uses it. But yeah, once I realized like, okay, you're going to get back up. You're going to get back up. You're just, you know, at this point.
I still thought that I did feel that a little bit, but I still really liked all the bottom of the sea stuff. And then in the base, like the sea base that was designed to look like a shipwreck. I thought that was a cool idea.
That was a cool idea. Yeah.
And all the stuff. Like I thought like the different sequences in the base were cool and interesting enough. But I did like towards the end of it, I was like, man, we're getting pretty late into this movie. And, where are the sharks?
We need some
of the sharks. Yeah. Where's the Kraken? I know it's in here. I saw it in the trailer.
Yeah, I liked the offer because it was something I genuinely didn't expect. Where they go down into the trench and they're like, "There's other people down here," and it's like, "Whoa, that's cool."
Yeah.
Which I should have known because again, you look at Jurassic Park where it's like that's what you do, right? You go to the island,
right? And that's where that's the direction that series took too, where it's like the other like the Biosyn guys coming in.
Yeah, I appreciate that they weren't plundering the creatures themselves this time because that's the cliche, right?
Right.
And they've done that in a few movies. Pacific Rim
makes any sense.
Yeah. We can weaponize the sharks. Right. It's like, really? Can you? You're going to drop them on a country?
Jurassic World, like, I guffawed when it's like, we're going to use
weaponize the raptors
these in the army. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's so dumb. And then Aliens does it too. Where
Aliens
it's like,
makes slightly more sense because it's like a pathogen.
Yes, they would drop it on a planet.
You just drop it on a planet and let it... Yeah.
Well, it makes slightly more sense only if you don't want the resources of that planet. Because guess what happens afterwards? You just have a planet of aliens.
Infested with aliens.
Yeah. And it's always a problem because it's like, they can easily be killed by like modern, Jurassic World, it's the worst where it's like, just use a drone, man.
It's a way to do black bag stuff. It's a way to wipe people out without looking like you wipe people, because of course you could just nuke them. It does make only slightly more sense.
Yeah, you can still fund local militias like we've already been doing
like the
for
US
centuries.
Does.
Yeah. Yeah, there's other ways besides raptors. I think what it is, the most I'll give it.
Can you imagine if in the 80s Reagan was like, it's either the Raptors or Oliver North.
Yeah. It's the equivalent of us trying to do it with tigers.
Trying
it's not much
to
different.
put tigers into the army.
Yeah. And again, a simple
we can
gun
unleash
will do
the
it.
tigers on a population.
Yeah. I get the idea of like, this is a new species, and I can see the government being like, can we? Because we've done dumber things. We tried to put bombs on cats and ended up blowing ourselves up because
Dolphins,
the cats were just...
bats.
Yeah.
We've strapped bombs to many animals.
Yeah, but I do feel like we're over that. By the time we'd invent dinosaurs, we'd know better, but I guess not.
No, we'd still be probably tying bombs to the dinosaurs, too.
Yeah.
Bomb on a pterodactyl.
Yeah, but they're not doing that here. They're mining, which it's
we
still
have
silly,
drones.
but like,
No, we want to tie a bomb to it. Sorry.
Yeah. This movie knows it's silly, so
Yes.
it's not like I can't.
But it's not
fault
like
it.
I appreciate that it's not overly like tongue in cheek. Like it's not really winking at you.
Well, all right. So yeah, the movie is not. It's not going to be a giant shark movie, right?
No.
And it's not going to be a serious movie, and so it knows it's going to be silly. And like you said, it's not winking at you. Absolutely not. And so where the movie excels, in my opinion, is using every part of the awesome, like using every part of the Statham, I would say, more than anything.
Yeah.
Like sticking him on a jet ski was
That
a very smart idea.
Yeah, that whole
Having him
sequence
jump
was
from
awesome.
like one shark to another and explode him is pretty great.
Throwing exploding harpoons at sharks.
Having him using the helicopter blade, like you said. I didn't think they used enough octopus. I thought we needed more
I
octopus.
thought the octopus should have been in it more.
Yeah. And I liked the little goblins, the little dinosaurs were fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
I think they did enough with them, but they weren't trying to like the feeling is that they weren't trying to make a classic here, right?
No.
And they weren't trying to be Spielberg with it. They weren't trying to create real tension or like that many like there was some loose games with it that I thought was good. Like I liked the helicopter taking off while they're trying to fill it.
Yeah.
And I liked them like opening the garage door, but it felt like they would do them and then they would sort of like be like, okay, you get it, and do like a minute of it and not really and like move on. Does that make sense? Where it's like they were definitely trying to do some fun shit, but it felt like they were trying out a lot of stuff and then being like, all right, so there's this idea, all right, let's move on. And there's this idea, this is pretty cool, let's move on.
Yeah, maybe. The octopus is where I noticed it the most.
Yeah, the octopus felt like it was kind of useless because it grabs a few people and then it gets bitten. Or it fights the shark, which was cool. And then there was this moment where it's like, oh, I guess we're rooting for the shark. They didn't do enough where it's like the shark's supposed to be a hero.
Oh, well, no, I don't, and I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah, they just have the shark fight the octopus, and they do a moment where you think the shark's dead, and then the shark eats it. And I think that's supposed to be the quote-unquote hero shark, the one that lives.
That is, yeah.
Trained.
That's the trained shark.
Yeah. But it feels like they didn't have enough time to really give us that hero shark in a way that's like, it has a couple moments, but when it goes away, it kind of reminds me of Godzilla, where when Godzilla goes back into the ocean, like people cheer, and it was like, why?
Yeah,
why are you cheering for
our
Godzilla?
homes.
Yeah,
Hundreds of thousands are dead.
It's like they know that the movie is called Godzilla that they're in, And it didn't feel like when the final shark gets away, it didn't feel like they should be that happy about it. They should kind of be like, we need to get that other shark.
Yeah, we should probably catch that thing. It's going to destroy the ecosystem.
Yeah, it's going to murder a lot of things.
Yeah, and we'll eat everything in the ocean.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and then they do the thing where the villains also felt like they were fine, but did they ultimately didn't matter too much, right? Like they
just
so
more
they take
obstacles,
over
more opportunities for action sequences.
Yeah, they take everybody hostage on the
platform,
base.
yeah, Mana 1, I think. So yeah, Mana 1.
Yeah, and then they have to find a way to get the main villain there, right? That's the whole thing. So she just goes there. I forget why she goes there.
I don't remember.
It's just to get eaten, really.
She pretty much just goes to the island to get killed.
Yeah. And then I forget how the main bad guy, I remember, he gets killed. Jason Statham kicks him into a shark.
He sure does, Dave.
Yeah.
Into a corkscrewing shark.
It's very honestly.
And they do the. Do you remember they did the little the Deep Blue Sea? Oh God, what's that goblin's name?
I don't know.
Michael Rappaport. They did little Michael Rappaport leg kicks with him.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
they did.
You see his little feeties were sticking out of the shark's mouth.
There was definitely some Deep Blue Sea inspiration,
Oh,
which
for sure.
I wish that the trailer gave away the one where she's like, "Oh, no shark can get in here," and the shark immediately eats her.
Yeah.
Which honestly I liked, but even without the trailer, she wasn't Samuel L. Jackson, that was the missing element there, right? If this movie really wanted to surprise me, have them eat Jason Statham. That's how you actually surprise me in a movie like this.
I don't know that was necessarily meant to be a surprise. It's been kind of an irritating villain. She double crossed them and got the team killed, and now she's talking on the phone with the main bad guy about how she's got big ideas for directions and how they can turn this into $1 billion PR thing. So it's just it's just punishing the villain for their hubris. I think that's all it was meant to be. It was pretty funny.
Yeah. But she's sort of a placeholder because she's not the main villain and she's not the main henchman.
No.
So she's
she's like a tertiary villain, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she was destined to die. There's too many of them.
And then the other bad guy sprints out of there because it's flooding, and then when he shuts the door on the outside,
screams.
he's just ah!
Yeah, because they were stupping, and I
he's had such a terrible day up to that point. He blew up all of his dudes. Yeah. He almost got stuck at the bottom of the ocean twice, 2 different times.
It's all his fault too.
It is all his fault.
No one told him to blow up that mining operation.
Yeah, he really. No. They have a conversation with the lady that's in charge, the big bad guy.
Right.
She's like, I didn't tell you to blow them up.
Yeah. Yeah, he really fucked everything.
Yeah,
up
he really
for
makes
a lot of
he
people.
makes a lot of impulsive decisions.
Yeah, and a giant squid kills people because of it.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
I like that they injected a scumbag, a token scumbag, onto the beach scene for one scene.
Oh yeah,
just so he can get punished by the octopus later.
Yeah.
He tries to push the 2 women in front of him.
Right. Oh yeah, that was very funny. And the octopus is just like, no, you,
and
sir,
then
you.
smashes him on the dock once before eating him.
But see, this is the stuff where I'm
I love a token scumbag. I'm a big softie that way.
I have sort of a bone to pick with that because this is my general vibe of this movie is that it has a lot of masters, right? So it's the director is a good director, and they also contributed to writing, and everybody's having a lot of fun. But I feel like they couldn't do it. They couldn't go all the way with certain things. For example,
for sure,
Token Scumbag, I love. What that token scumbag should have done that would have been even funnier is successfully fed those 2 women to the octopus and got away for longer, right? A good wrestling heel,
right? Is you're
gets
waiting
away with
for
it.
him to get his comeuppance, yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen that a few times where you have the scumbag who
Snakes on a plane.
Yeah, who just keeps surviving. Mm-hmm. Snakes on a Plane is a good example, although that movie, of course, has its own issues.
It's got a lot of
where
problems, but I was just thinking about...
It became too self-aware, but it had a lot of fun with its premise.
the rich guy that throws the dog to the snake is who I'm thinking of specifically. Yeah,
that was great. Yeah, where you're like, oh, you're going to die so hard later, man.
He does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so it's a lot of fun. I just feel like...
I like that. You're right about that. It could have been, and it was. They did have some moments like that. I loved the moment with the couple on the ship, and he proposes to her.
Yeah, and she dies.
And she gets pulled overboard while he's looking for the ring.
But they had to make her mean to him. They still had to make her mean to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they didn't make him mean, and then the whole ship.
That's true. And then he dies.
Ripped under, and they die. Yeah. So the movie it doesn't do the Jurassic World thing, which they decide that only heels get killed. Yeah, it's well then that's just kind of boring.
Yeah, they killed some nice people at first, but they definitely survive. Like a lot of people, the nice people survive at the end of this one for the most part.
Yeah, but there's
those
also
two
like
women survive.
There's also like scores of just random, bystanders
we see
that get
random
murked.
people all dying.
Yeah. So it's not only just heels. It's not only Ted Levine who has inexplicably an obsession with pulling. Never mind, it's not inexplicable. I understand why you'd want to pull out dinosaurs' teeth.
Oh yeah.
They're pretty awesome. Have you ever seen them? They're cool.
Ted Levine. Forgot about him in that movie. Jesus Christ!
By a dinosaur.
It's so fucking what a perfect. Perfect person to get eaten by.
To me. It's you're right.
You know
it's objectively the funniest person to get eaten by a dinosaur.
Yeah. He like tasted funny, right? Like he definitely tasted like old cigarettes.
He tasted like weird gas station beef jerky.
Yeah. Oh shit. Yeah, I don't know. This was fun. It just for me it's like the both of these movies I can't quite explain it. It's just it hasn't been enough, which is a funny thing to say about movies about giant. I think it's that thing where it's like we live in a day and age now where you want a giant monster, you got one, right?
Yeah,
I rewatched a bunch of the Godzillas
you
as
have
well.
your pick, man. Any kind of giant monster you can think of. There's probably a movie and several sequels about it.
Yeah, like, and it's easy for them to fall through the cracks. Like Rampage, remember fucking Rampage?
Right,
this
and I
reminds me a
do
little
kind
bit
of
of
like
Rampage. Yeah, Rampage is pretty chill, but it's another movie that's like, it has so many masters, right? It has The Rock. It's got to be, The Rock has to do this and that.
That's true. I do remember respecting Rampage for being surprisingly, it had a surprising edge to it. Like it was kind of hardcore at a few moments.
Right, but that's always the most we can hope for with these, where it's like, oh yeah, there's a little bit of edge, there's a little bit of teeth, and I think that's what it is. Like a movie like Deep Blue Sea is like one of the reasons why Deep Blue Sea is so
because it has an R rating.
Yeah, because it's brutal, because it's bloody and brutal, and it
over
feels
the
like
top. It's bananas.
Right, and it's one of those weird things that's like, why are we not doing that with action movies? Because they're trying to appeal to such broad audiences that it's like, it's a monster movie. Like, make Carnosaur out of it, Like, put some unnecessary nudity in it.
Hell yeah.
Put some blood. Make it fucking, go all the way with it. If you're gonna, or figure out a really good tense plot, I guess.
But see, I think that's the mistake. Like you can't, because we made, like I said at the beginning, we made Jaws already. Like we have that movie.
You have to really think of a good idea, Like it's hard to think of a good idea for a shark movie, like we're saying. There was a movie that it didn't end up being very good, but I think it was called Bait, the one where a supermarket floods. And so they're all on the top of the aisles, and there's a shark swimming through the aisles. That was an idea. Or The Shallows. Yeah, The Shallows was a really good example.
Pretty good, yeah.
Where it's like, you just got to get to shore, and it's right over there. Like, that's... So there are ideas you could think of with sharks still, but it is... I think you're right, where it's a lot of... It's like...
It's a different kind of, like... The Shallows is like cat and mouse.
It's like coming up with a new zombie movie premise, where it's like, anybody could probably think of something, but like it might not be good enough, and that's nothing against. It's the fact that it's such an oversaturated genre. Mm-hmm. Like you could come up with a really good idea, but it still might not be enough because of the genre.
Right, and I think every shark movie kind of, unless you're going like for like a broad comedy, every shark movie has to be some kind of thriller.
Yeah, right? Like Deep Blue Sea. The thing about Deep Blue Sea isn't really the plot or premise, right? Like that's not really what makes it unique. The Smart Sharks is funny, but like the setting's pretty fucking. It's no different than the setting in The Meg, right? It's just like we're in this
undersea lab,
Undersea lab. They scaled it down, which I appreciate about Deep Blue Sea, but that's not really what makes Deep Blue Sea a memorable film. And the second best shark movie, it's what they do with the premise. It's the craziness of it. It's the fact that essentially the main character, spoilers, gets killed. Like they do things that you just don't see coming, and it made it. I don't even know if that movie was a financial success.
I believe so.
Okay, but it made it a cult classic.
Yeah, and there's a reason you and I are still talking about it.
Yeah. And it's not the
yeah.
setting, and it's not the sharks, really. The sharks don't matter. So, like, I don't know. It is a very tough genre. And then you have all these, like, the sci-fi ones, Mega Shark and shit like that. And, like, in a way, this felt like a really, really, really good version of that. That's kind of what it felt like to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Sharknado is, like, similar premise, right? It's, like, ensemble cast. We're going to different places. There's usually, like, science involved or scientists. Like, it felt like that, but just, like, really well done, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree.
But I still just kind of want a Megalodon movie. Like a good Megalodon movie.
What does that look like to you?
I think I don't think it would be this series. I think it would have to they'd start over. I think the idea was you would do it as kind of like I think you'd do it kind of like the beginnings of a movie like Godzilla, where a lot of the time you're just looking for like it's going place to place, it's roaming, and they're following it. You know what I mean? And trying to like find it, so you can do these like scary encounters with it. I think you do like. I think you do something where you end it in a fairly populated place or something like that. It would have to be a little awesome, right?
Right. Otherwise, what's the point of a giant shark movie?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think it could be scarier more than like I think there's something really scary about because there's whole subreddits devoted to how big and scary the ocean is, right?
Yeah.
So I think there's something to be said, like a sequence that I haven't seen yet is just a person treading water with a shark under them. A giant fucking shark. And the idea would be like they're not big enough for the shark to really care.
Yeah.
And so like you're kind of like treading water and hoping the fucking thing doesn't get you. Like I haven't seen enough of that. You know what I mean? Where it's just like simply having to be underwater with this giant fucking shark in this like inky dark ocean and you can only make out a little of it. Like that's scary. Like there's a shot in this that was actually genuinely cool where Jason Statham looks to the left and it's only for a second and you can see the shark like coming at him from under the water.
Yeah.
And it's a scary fucking shot. Like that's the thing. I don't think even Jaws has actually been able to do this, which is one of the scariest things about the water is that it's murky. And that if you're looking down into the water and there's a monster down there, it looks terrifying. Like even Jaws didn't really do much of that.
It does it twice, but not you know.
Yeah, it does like the shot where the guy on the boat,
dinghy is getting eaten, and then like
when you know a terrifying shot.
Come down and chum some of this shit, and then pop.
The
bigger boat.
That's
scene.
more of yeah. But like that to me seems like that's like a key thing that I don't feel like has happened in enough shark movies. Is like, this feeling of like it could be anywhere down there. It could be right under you. And like just that visual of it is, I think, really strong. And I don't know, maybe
right,
there
it's
isn't
nightmare fuel, like looking down and just seeing it. Like,
yeah,
oh no.
Exactly. Like I feel like there is room for a very tense shark movie or a very tense megalodon movie where you don't show that much. But maybe that wouldn't sell. Maybe that's just for me. I just feel like again, there's stuff with a megalodon that's scary. It's a conceptually terrifying creature, and I feel like these movies never gave it that room to be that scary. And I don't think that's what they wanted.
No.
But the biggest gripe I have is like, can't you think of a different third act? Like, surely a resort beach isn't the only thing you can have this fucking shark go to, right? And again, like at the clear water of it all, it's like, do it in dark water. That makes it scarier, right? If you can't fucking see it down there until it's like right in front of you. Yeah. That would freak me out. Yeah, I just think there's a lot more to do here.
I'm not sure that I agree that there is. I don't know how much you can really do
surely there's a lot more to do
premise.
Than a resort beach, right?
Yeah, there's a lot more locations we could put it in.
Yeah, that to me is the one that stands out where I was like, why did you do the exact same broad strokes? Why did you have the end at this beach again? where it's everybody out of the water, and you do like the exact same thing where it's like, here's people. I think there's a wedding in both, right? Or there's the guy proposing, and then the first one, it's a wedding yacht.
Yeah.
Like, it's just weird. They do the exact same thing, that it feels like a mulligan more than a sequel.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I just think there's more. There's more they could have done. I think there's more pieces of this. Like, putting aside my expectations for a Megalodon movie, this premise, I think they still could have done more with. I think they did a lot of awesome shit, but I do think they also kind of did some of the same stuff from the first movie. And again, that's weird to me.
Yeah, that is true.
Like, you look at, you look at what like Jurassic Park has the same issue, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like,
right, they sort of
you go
kind
into
of,
the park, things go nuts. Lost World, I think, did the best extension of it.
Right, I was about to say Lost World got about as much blood out of that stone as you can. Like, that's another thing that I think I've said this on an episode before, but I know, like, we've talked about it, where I don't think you can't really make a sequel to Jurassic Park.
No, you could do one more thing, and Spielberg did it. He brought a T-Rex to the mainland.
Right, and I feel like that's the similar territory with a giant shark movie. It's like, we have Jaws, what else can we really do with it? And it's kind of just this.
Yeah, it is really tough to think about, like, what more can you do? And people love sharks, so obviously we keep making them. And, like, this is definitely and the extension of it, right? Like, fucking riding a fucking jet ski and jumping sharks and stabbing other sharks. That's definitely a way to go with this.
Being awesome.
Yeah. But, like, oh, man, I don't know. Meg 3, I don't know, man. But I get... I do and I don't, because, again, I'm like, well, surely you could take it to somewhere other than a goddamn underwater lab and resort beach. Like, that's the only two settings these movies have had. So, like, there are places to go with it. I really do think that.
Yeah,
I really do think, like, a party cruise ship, you could do something on that.
For sure. I'm just saying it's kind of a different version of the same premise. That's what I'm saying.
Yes. Yeah. I do think it's
just iterations of the same premise.
Yeah. You could build a robot shark like fucking Mechagodzilla,
like
I guess.
And introduce the Hollow Earth.
Yeah. The problem is like spectacle only gets you so far these days, right?
Right. You need to have some conceptually fun and crazy things, which I think this movie does have several conceptually crazy things that are very entertaining. Outside of the pure spectacle of it, there's a lot of fun. Like we were saying, there's a lot of fun sequences in it, just action sequences.
It's honestly kind of the same with the Transformers movies, which is like I really enjoyed that new one, but it's also still just giant robots fighting. Where it's like, yeah, also I've seen it a bunch of times, right? So it's like that you can do a solid version of it, but it's sort of like like this movie. I feel like this should have been the first movie, and then there shouldn't have been another movie. Where it's like, yeah, this is the best version of it.
The newest Transformers did a thing that I appreciated, which it made the Transformers feel way more mortal.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And it also made the humans
made the humans more involved and cool. So
yeah,
I think
but it all
that
does
was a closer
feel like
balance, but yeah.
It all does feel like we're hitting this thing where it's like, I don't know, how many fucking times can we do the same thing? You know?
Exactly, yeah. There's a reason we don't just the same movie just doesn't continue forever and ever. Is that you can't keep doing the same thing.
Right, and I think this is commendable. I think the writer, director, the artists involved knew to some extent, like, okay, we're making a Meg 2. We're not going for an Oscar. We're not trying to scare people. Let's just try to do as many fun things as we can in this premise. And there were, to its credit, ideas that I hadn't seen. For example, them walking underwater, doing that long walk. I've seen versions of it. I would argue the Abyss did a bit better version, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a different sort of suspense.
The Abyss, but also the Sphere, actually, because both of those movies did the thing that I'm talking about, which is that being underwater is dark. Like, they don't make it dark in The Trench, which I think is kind of a mistake. Where it's like, yeah, it's dark, but it's movie dark.
Yeah.
Make it so that they can barely see in front of them. That's so much scarier in this scenario, right? But they still, that idea that they have to walk a few miles is pretty fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, I enjoyed it. It reminded me a little, towards the end especially, it reminded me of that scene in Pitch Black, which is a funny thing to compare it to, but I think Pitch Black's a pretty decent movie, where they have to race to cover as the sun's going down.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it is something that's been seen before, but again, we're well into making movies,
right?
At
but
this
just
point,
not anticipated in a movie like this. Like, this movie is not what I thought it was going to be.
I didn't
in a good
think
way.
they were going to spend that much time. Yeah, for sure. It definitely within its own world is trying to surprise you. In a lot of places. So yeah,
and I think it does a lot of the time.
Yeah, I was definitely entertained by it.
Mm-hmm. Enough to keep me entertained, at any rate.
For sure. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say. I think I don't want to belabor the point.
My final thing to say is, if you haven't seen either of these films, honestly, just watch this one.
You really don't need to have seen the first one. Yeah, you really don't.
Yeah, because the first one basically just does everything this does, but less. You know?
Yeah, much less, actually.
Yeah. So, I mean, it there's no plot that you need to that you're gonna miss, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, check it out.
Yeah.
All right. Also, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. It's just for $5 a month. You get access to exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder's a Maniac, Star Trek Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. We watch movies every Friday night with our patrons. We'd watch this. We'd watch this on a Friday night.
This. Yeah, this is 100% the kind of things we watch.
Yeah.
We also have a store. Head over to GameFullyUnemployed.com, where you can find a link to our Teespring store, where we have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs. You can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all sorts of things. So check that out. Slap your shark hunting peepers onto those.
Yeah, slap your sharks. Slap your big old floppy sharks.
Floppy shark peepers.
Yeah,
That's what we like to see.
We're talking about dicks.
Mm-hmm.